Hi juniors, hope you enjoyed the video on how Prada makes their own mannequins and the process that they go through, the effort that they go through to get mannequins that are really sculptures, and how custom made they are for the specific atmosphere and theme that Prada wants to create. Okay, let's talk about mannequins and other human forms. First of all, let's start with the origin of mannequins. Right at the beginning, mannequins began very much like what you saw in the Prada video, where they were actually sculptures of human forms, and clothes were displayed on these sculptures in store windows so that people can see what the clothes will look like when they are put on. And these mannequins were, of course, modeled after real people. But can you imagine making a sculpture for every mannequin? It is very time consuming and expensive, and not everybody, not every store can afford to have them. So, with the Industrial Revolution, mannequins started to become mass produced, just like very much of all the items and products that we have today. Everything was mass produced. And mannequins today, they would reflect the anatomical trends, meaning that they would present what society's perspective of women, what women and men should wear, how their body shapes, ideal body shapes should look like. And a lot of this is, of course, based on social trends. Because mannequins have very strong presence as they take on the human form, they very often become the emphasis in any display because the attention would always be focused on the mannequin. And in fact, what mannequins wear becomes a highlight, a feature, and that makes the apparel of the mannequin the direction setter for what the store is trying to project. Looking at this image, you can see the trend of a more health conscious approach, of more people doing exercises like yoga, more people taking classes to be able to have better posture, or even dance classes. It is very much a social trend. And looking at this, it is very interesting that this mannequin is not like your supermodel on a runway, not thin and like what everybody aspires to be, but it is more reflective of what real women are, that real women are in different shapes and sizes, and mannequins have started to reflect that. Okay, the types of mannequins. We have the traditional human form, like what you have seen earlier. We have the ethnic mannequins, which are also another trend actually, because it shows that we want mannequins to reflect not just a race that is not our own. We want mannequins to reflect that there are many different races, different hair colors, different eye colors. And the stylized human form, an artistic take on mannequins, that mannequins do not have to be realistic, and representational mannequins, that mannequins may take on just a form that is not at all realistic, and that may just be a portion of the human anatomy. The traditional human form mannequin, it is the most adaptable and versatile because they are not they reflect what humans look like, and they do not take on a trend of mannequins that have no eyes, or a trend of mannequins taking on certain colors that are unrealistic. Therefore, the skin tones are usually very natural, and they can usually be transformed to have many different impressions based on their clothes that they wear, the wigs that they wear, the kind of makeup that they wear. And ethnic human forms, ethnic mannequins that is, which is basically the same thing. A lot of African and Asian communities have been calling out for mannequins to reflect the different builds, the different physical attributes. So mannequins now take on a very diversified ethnic features. Let's take a look. These are our traditional mannequins, and these are our ethnic mannequins. As you can see, the skin color, the eye color, the shape of the eyes, the shape of the nose. And if you look at the entire mannequins, a lot of times it's also physical attributes such as the build, the proportion. It's all reflective of different ethnic groups. The stylized human forms, also known as stylized mannequins, they are representational of mannequins, as in they follow the traditional lines of a human form, but they may be exaggerated in certain ways, such as the features may be very exaggerated with extremely huge eyes, for example, or extremely huge mouths, for example. Or they could have very different finishing, as in their skin tone is not a natural human skin tone. They could take on very shiny metallic surfaces, or they can even take on a print that is completely not found in the human anatomy. And unique accents can also be found in these stylized mannequins, such as cone-shaped hair, for example, that is not at all real. Let's take a look at what they look like. Looking at these, you can see these mannequins, they do not have faces because they are stylized, and their surfaces are not at all alike to human skin. And these mannequins put on a very different head shape with very exaggerated eye shapes. And looking at this mannequin, you can tell that it's almost like a sculpture, an art piece, because the face has got no features, but yet there is like a groove that is representational of eyes and nose, but not really. Or they could be just shiny, like the ones that we have in First Avenue, except ours is white and this is black. But as you can see, they take on the human form, they can put on the clothes just like a human can. Next type of mannequins, representational. What do we mean? They are actually the mannequins that are forming portion of the human anatomy. They do not take on an exact human form. We will see more examples later on. These are actually more cost effective because they are cheaper to produce, as in they do not take on the entire human form. They can be made in many different materials that you will see. And they are very versatile because they do not have faces, they do not reflect trends, they are practically timeless. For example, we have women's torso, or a man's suit form, or head and shoulder forms, or even a form just to wear a blouse, hands or legs, or feet just to wear shoes. Let's take a look. This is what we call a suit hanger. You can see that there are bars for the pants and the shoulders to hang the jacket, and even a head so that you can put on a hat. These are what we call busts. With dressmakers and seamstresses typically use busts to develop garments, but increasingly they are also used in store windows. Another group of busts. And these are carved mannequins that can be used to sell socks, stockings, or even anklets. As you can see, these are neck and shoulder busts that are used to display jewelry, and the form of a hand as well, to display gloves or jewelry or watches. Okay, the next few slides are about how you should dress the mannequin. There are a few rules of thumbs that I need you to take note of, such as you should always take out the bottom half of the mannequin if you are putting on pants, and you should always lay them on the floor as you are dressing the mannequin. Note how the visual shows you should fit the mannequin into the spigot appropriately. And there are various different types of spigot. There is the spigot that fits into the bum, there is the spigot that fits into the feet, and there are the spigot that fits into the legs. And when you're dressing the top half of a mannequin, always remove the arms, put on the top, then fit in the arms. I have actually some videos with the links in the Olive site that you can look at for demonstration on how to dress a mannequin. Please make sure you view those videos. Some of the terms that we use when we dress the mannequins. Foot spigot. Some of our First Avenue mannequins actually have this, which is a metal rod that fits into the base of the mannequin's foot, and it's attached to a heavy base so as to stabilize the mannequin. The leg spigot, the metal rod that is attached into the calf or the leg of the mannequin instead of the base. Please observe the mannequins in First Avenue. We have a few mannequins that uses the leg spigot. And the bum rod, okay, it is a rod that goes through a hole in the bum of the mannequin. A lot of times these mannequins could be sitting down. Okay, let's take a look at this Louis Vuitton mannequin. You can see that he's walking on a tightrope. That's really interesting. Have you thought, how did Louis Vuitton make that happen? Let's take a look at the next video and you will see how Louis Vuitton made that happen.